Vincent changed the church in the 17th century and set in motion the church of the 21st century. In the 17th century, poor country people made up the great majority of the population of France. They were lacking in material and spiritual matters. By any measure, France was a mission country in the 17th century. He saw their ignorance of the fundamental truths of faith, their routine practice of a mildewed, musty Christianity, and their lack of even basic preparation for the sacraments. Besides some brief and short-lived periods of peace, the century in which Vincent lived was a century of war. People suffered the devastating consequences of the wars of religion and the upheavals of the civil wars, which were often complicated by foreign wars. Vincent had no grand vision of changing his world, just a heart on fire. Yet few saints have been as active as Vincent de Paul. Even if we highlight only his principal accomplishments, the list is stunning, even for one who has been long familiar with them. In 1617, struck by the need to organize practical works of charity in Châtillon, France, he founded the Charities, known today as the Ladies of Charity in the USA, and called the International Association of Charities Worldwide. This pioneering venture opened up a role for women in ministry. In his lifetime, groups of women volunteers spread rapidly throughout France, and then throughout the world today. They count more than 100,000 members in 53 countries. It is the oldest still functioning such organization. In 1625, he founded the Congregation of the Mission with companions who joined his efforts at renewing the faith in France. By the time of his death, the congregation had spread to Poland, Italy, Algeria, Madagascar, Ireland, Scotland, and the nearby islands. From 1628 on, he became more and more involved in the reform of the clergy, organizing retreats for those about to be ordained to the priesthood and those already ordained, and offering conferences on Tuesdays for leaders among the clergy. In 1633, along with St. Louise de Marillac, he founded the Daughters of Charity. They were a revolutionary type of women's community. Whereas formerly religious sisters had been confined to living in cloistered convents, the daughters lived in apartments, worked on the streets, in hospitals, and in schools. Today, there are almost 15,000 of them working in 94 countries. In 1638, he took up the work of the foundlings and provided the first of many homes for infants abandoned on the streets of Paris. Beginning in 1639, Vincent organized campaigns for the relief of those suffering from war, plague, and famine. One of his assistants, Brother Matthew Regnard, made 53 trips crossing enemy lines in disguise, carrying an estimated $1 million a trip from Vincent for the relief of those in war. In 1652, as poverty enveloped Paris, Vincent, at the age of 72, organized massive relief programs, providing soup twice a day for thousands of poor people at the central houses of the Vincentians, feeding thousands of others at the Daughters of Charity. He organized collections, gathering each week 5,000 to 6,000 pounds of meat, 2,000 to 3,000 eggs, provisions of clothing and utensils.